Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Chin Music, a baseball podcast. It's been a little while since we were with you guys. Took a short, brief hiatus again. Lots has happened in the baseball world, though, since we last talked to you. Players have gotten suspended. Players worth $750 million have stirred up some controversy and much, much more. So, a lot to talk about tonight. Joining me once again is my co-host and arguably creator of the show, Mr. Andrew Menson. Good to see you again, Andrew.
Yeah, of course. It's always good to be back. Definitely episodes have gotten more sporadic, but I think that just means that the longer we wait, the more stuff that happens, and the more stuff there is to talk about. So I'm excited for this episode and to go back and forth on.
Me too. So we're gonna go back to a little bit of our typical um, layout for an episode. We'll do Phillies and Mets recaps slash thoughts on a couple different things. I know you have quite a bit based on some of our texts over the last couple of days. And then we'll do another MLB roundup that could lead a bunch of different ways. We have some topics listed, but we'll see where that stuff takes us. Things will pop up along the way, I'm sure. I'm gonna let you start this week with your thoughts on the Mets because I think this is the first time that you're gonna be the angry, maybe not angry, the annoyed fan that goes on tangents, and I get to look like the sane one this week. So I'm gonna let you start off with your thoughts on the current New York Mets.
All right. So for those of you who were lucky and didn't get to watch the Mets and the Dodgers play on Friday night yesterday, um, side note, I almost went to that game. Thank God I didn't. But the Mets lost in 13 innings. I believe if you include rain delays, the game was 6 hours long. I think four and a half without the rain delays. Beside the point. They went up against the Dodgers. They were losing by 3 runs until the bottom of the ninth. They came back, which was nice to tie the game, and proceeded in the four extra innings that followed, being the 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. They scored a grand total of 0 runs. Obviously, with 0 outs and a runner on second for each of those. Um, I'm gonna start just by I'm definitely we're gonna see how intense this rant gets, depending on how I plan on tackling this. The fact that it's baffling to me how a team that is built on offense and is built to score runs cannot score a singular run at home in 4 innings with 0 outs in a runner in scoring position. I think this is the if I've heard somewhere that either this is the first time or this is the first time since they did the ghost runner that a game has gone this long. And feel free to fact check me on that, but I'm pretty certain they said that on the broadcast. That's crazy. I don't understand, and it's not just that the lineup's not deep because the lineup should be deep, but even disregarding that, Lindor I think had 0 hits that game. I know Soto had 0 hits that game. Alonso had 0 hits that game. Those are three guys that are the backbone of your team. They're supposed to, as Lindor always loves to say, post up. He likes to post up every day. Posting up doesn't just mean putting on the uniform and standing on shortstop. It means getting in the batter's box and having productive at bats. That's just not what happened. And as you go down the batting order, you see guys that continuously continue to disappoint. Brandon Nimmo, his OBP on the year is under 300. This guy used to be, Phillies fans used to be annoyed with him because he would sprint to first base after a walk. Guess what? He doesn't fucking walk anymore. So it doesn't matter. Francisco Alvarez, every time I see him taking at bat, he strikes out. Every time. He either strikes out or he whiffs on a pitch that's at the top of the zone. For somebody who is one of the best catching prospects in baseball, he was supposed to be the next Mike Piazza. He hasn't done anything. He's either hurt all the time or he doesn't perform. And that's those are the guys that are supposed to hit. Like Mark Vientos, all right, he's having sophomore struggles. You can live with that. And I can live with guys like Tyrone Taylor not getting hits. But the guys on this team that are supposed to perform haven't been performing. And it's so frustrating to see that bullpen, which none of those guys are going to get blamed. Obviously, well, Jose Buto sucks. Besides him, Brazabon had no business being in that game. I'm not going to blame him for eventually letting up the run at the top of the 13th. Reed Garrett is nails. He is awesome. And I know I know we actually talked about the whole nails Lenny Dykstra thing. That's funny. Edwin Diaz, bases loaded, 0 outs, gets out of the jam. That's awesome. Like this bullpen put the team on its back to hold that vaunted Dodgers lineup to 0 runs for that long, and they the offense just can't get it done, and it's so frustrating because after you score 3 runs in the bottom of the ninth, you're supposed to win that game, and that's supposed to be a catalyst. You're supposed to take that win and go take 3 more from take 2 more from the Dodgers, then go take 3 more from the next team, and you're supposed to go on a run. Those are supposed to be wins that you need to have for the course of the season. So to see him lose like that after getting so close, it's if you can tell, it's frustrating.
4 innings means that at least 3 guys batted twice.
Yeah. Hmm.
So there's guys who at multiple times then
Yeah. And
were up and
another thing, at some point, Pete Alonso was on third base. It was bases loaded, 2 outs. Acuna was up at bat. I,
sorry, I'm watching the double play for
they
the
just get
Dodgers to
doubled
turn on
up,
the Mets. Yeah.
of course. Anyway, that's brutal. Acuna up to bat, bases loaded. They decide to pinch run Alonso for Jose Alzacar, who's no longer on the team anymore. He got DFA'd this morning. And in doing so, they essentially took Alonso out of the game for the rest of the game because they pinch ran for him. And clearly, as I said, this lineup is not doing them any favors. So it is beyond me why, in a 2 out situation with the bases already loaded, I don't understand why you're pinch running at third base. And I'm sure that, Mendy's got guys, analytics guys telling him that system play, whatever, whatever. But it doesn't make sense to me. It honestly feels like a gut call because what that says, the only rationale I can find for that is they thought that Acuna was going to hit a slow chopper and they needed everyone on the base, the merry-go-round, to be running. But these guys are running on contact anyway. So if they're the only scenario that I can, like, they're the chances that it's going to matter who's on third base on bases loaded, 2 outs, 1 run wins the game. It it's not going to happen. And in doing so, you took arguably your best hitter in your entire team out of the lineup and out of the game. So that's just one more thing that it was a mess in extra innings. Great job to tie it to even get to extra innings, but everything they did after that from the offensive standpoint was atrocious.
Pinch running in that situation feels like a managing scared move. And that's a bad look. Even managers manage scared sometimes, obviously, but something as blatant as that feels like a bad look, especially for a guy like Alonso, who is, you know, can quibble over whether the move actually would have worked or not. But I don't know. That feels like a managing scared move to me.
Yeah, and I thinking on this more, I think the only scenario that I can think of is if there was a wild pitch. I think that's the only reason you would want Azokar in instead of Alonso, and that's such a crazy thing to take your best hitter out for. So anyway, that game's done with. I'm done talking about that game specifically. Um, Brett Beatty had a nice game, obviously with his home run. He's had a really nice start since coming back to the major league team after spending time in AAA. I continue to hold out hope for him. Part of it's bias. I just like him. I think he's a genuinely good dude that just wants to play his game and be a contributor to this team. So from that standpoint, I want him around. And like I said, Vientos isn't doing anything much right now. He was hurt last game. He's hurt this game with some day-to-day things. So Brett's gonna get some run. And I really, really hope he continues to do stuff with it because right now he's one of the best hitters on this team. So
All right, so I want to step back to the Mets at large, and not that they've been playing bad baseball since we last talked by any means. They are now 3 games out of first place in the NL East, and I don't pay much attention to the standings for any real reason at this point in the season other than to poke fun at my Mets friends. Um, Here's my outlet to do so. But So clearly, this is the change in the standings is the combination of Phillies playing better, and we will get into the caveats of why they're playing better uh, in a minute. Um, but I have to, I have to need to need to get you to speak on the. I don't want to say Juan Soto drama because I think a little bit of it is being played up. I'm fully aware of that because that's a clicks thing. I know everybody sees, Mets having problems with Juan Soto. Those articles are getting clicks from every baseball fan. But I also don't think that you as a fan can say there's no problems either. So I'm curious where on that spectrum you stand on that.
So I'm glad you asked this. There has been so much that has been said about Juan Soto, and there's a bunch of different angles. So I'm going to talk about each of them individually. Let's first talk about Juan Soto, the player. Juan Soto, the player, purely on baseball, has not been, he has been not as good as expected. That doesn't mean he's bad. He's not,
He's been like definitively a above average hitter. I
yeah,
don't think he's on pace for what? Like I think like 25 home runs and like 75 or 80 RBIs right now.
yeah, he is a positive contributor to this lineup. Um, he is obviously not the Juan Soto that we're spending three quarters
Three
of a billion
quarters of a
dollars
billion.
for. Um, but I'm not concerned. There's if you watch his at bats, there are some things, and it's easy to pile on him for that when he's not hitting well overall. But a thing that people don't like to see is he's obviously a very patient player. So what's going to happen is a lot of times he's going to stare at strikes. He's going to take pitches that he does. If he doesn't think it's in the zone, he is not going to swing. This dude never swings at pitches outside of the zone, outside of his zone. So what happens is he's going to get screwed on umps. He's going to get bailed out because he has a reputation of a guy that has an eagle eye. But there was the game this was, but he just had a game where he did not swing the bat until his eighth pitch. He struck out looking on three, and then he struck out looking on four. That's going to piss people off. It pisses me off because obviously the thought is get the bat off your shoulder. But at the end of the day, that's how he plays. So you can't be too mad because you're going to want that. You can't have a guy that walks at a 20% clip or whatever ridiculous rate that he walks at. You can't have that without having that approach. So that's me on Juan Soto the player. He'll be okay. Lindor. Every Met always struggles in their first season. Lindor is well documented. Um, Mike Piazza was before my time. That's well documented. Carlos Beltran, somebody that I grew up with. Obviously, Mets fans have their opinions on him. Some of them do for the 2006 NLCS, but his first year was not good, and he had some very, very good years in a Met uniform. So I look forward to the day where we can look back on this and laugh about how much was made of how much this was made out of beginning the start of a season. I think he'll be okay. I think just as long as his mentality is there and he stays in his own head or he doesn't get into his own head and he continues to put in the work, I think he'll be okay. Now we can talk about the hustle, the doesn't want to be here. The hustling is an issue. I've said this, and I will say this about any player. You should be running hard to first base on everything. Unless you are Kirk Gibson, you have a gimp leg, or you are the greatest player this franchise has ever seen, and it's a meaningless game, then you can dog it down the line. For somebody who has not proven anything, he's proven nothing in a Met uniform. He's done nothing. If he retired today, nobody would have anything nice to say about Juan Soto in a Mets uniform until he does something in this uniform meaningful, which really is a championship. He better be busting his ass down that fucking line every single time. And the fact that they asked him about this, and it was at least one play, and he basically said, like, I thought I was hustling. Why would you say that to the media? You can say anything you want. The worst thing you can do to drum up more controversy, which I'm sure he doesn't want, is to go against what your manager is saying and say, Listen, I think I was hustling. Like, I don't know what he's talking about. You don't say that. It is your job as a baseball player when your manager or senior leadership or whatever says something about your hustle, regardless of what you think it was, just say, okay, my bad. To the media. If you think differently, go into his office and fix it privately. But to the media, you have a responsibility to the team to not make it about yourself. And lastly, I'm going to defend him here because you see idiots. Michael K. You see idiots like Michael K. say ridiculous things about how Juan Soto doesn't want to be here. His mom made him sign, or his family made him sign because they want the Queen suite. That's ridiculous. I don't know how Michael K doesn't know what he's talking about. He's a shill. He annoys the crap out of me for a lot more reasons than that, but most of all because he just spews a bunch of BS and just people eat it up because they've heard of the name Michael K.
Yankee fans eat it up.
Yankee fans eat it up, and baseball fans who love to troll the Mets eat it up. No, he has no idea why Juan Soto signed for the Mets, and I can promise you, a suite was not the reason that he signed for the Mets. Juan Soto can buy 700 suites if he wants to. The Yankees offered him just as much money. The difference was $10 million. I promise you, if Juan Soto wanted to buy his family a suite at Yankee Stadium, he could buy all of them. Like that's the dumbest possible thing to say that's the reason why he signed with Mets. Guess what? He signed with the Mets because he wanted to be a New York Met at the end of the day. You can say it's because he wanted the 10, 15 million. Maybe he did. I don't know. But point is, he had two offers in front of him and he chose the Mets. Yankees fans have to get over it, okay? You can clown on him for playing bad, okay? You can say he's overpaid, you can say whatever, but you can't say he wanted to be a Yankee because if he wanted to be a Yankee, he would be a Yankee. So, I'll end with that.
So I think the his comments about saying that he thought he was hustling, um, I take a different approach to why that's a problem because uh, I agree with what you said, but I also think that that's a atrocious look to the fans. If because like I don't know what he's if what he's saying is what he's thinking or he thinks he's coming across in a different way. If truly he like I don't think he does. I don't think he does. But if for some strange reason he truly believes that that was hustling, that's a terrible narrative to set for yourself. That you're getting paid more money than most people ever see in their entire lives, and that's your version of hustling. And that's what fans could expect is the effort level to see from you for the next 15 years is a really bad look.
Yeah, I will say though, after that game, the first game of the Dodger series, his first at bat, he hits a double play ball, of course, right? But it wasn't a double play because Juan Soto actually hustled down the line and beat it out at first.
Because he knew he
So
had to.
yeah, because so that would be my retort is that I that would at least give me hope that he knows what a hard 90 looks like because he
Hmm.
just showed it to you in
Yeah.
yesterday's game and he didn't have a great game by any means. He had a couple of loud outs. That first at bat he ripped the ball foul twice, which again just he it's a combination of just bad luck and that's baseball. Like that's how baseball works sometimes. You put in good at bats and you get bad results. And his at bats haven't been good all the time either. But on the facet of hustling, he's not gonna do it every AB. It's just he's never gonna be that guy that hustles. He's definitely got a Manny Machado
Yeah, I was about to say
hustling.
this sounds a lot like
Yeah,
Machado from 6 years ago.
yeah. But I don't think anyone. I think Machado is one of the unquestioned leaders on that team. And they're not having great. They're not having a great clubhouse right now. But for the last couple of years, he's been a kind of unquestioned leader role. Regardless of how much he hustles, I think when you need to, you'll see that guys like him will eventually bust it. And my hope is that Juan Soto will kind of wake up, especially with the recent controversy. He'll kind of uh, read the room and learn to hustle a little bit more when it matters. So
Yeah, I would imagine so. And if not, it's a long decade and a half we got ahead of us. And
Yeah.
I just, guys who get those big contracts are just in the spotlight for that anyway. Everybody in baseball, unless you're a minor league guy competing for a job, does the exact same thing. That's a problem I have with baseball at large. That guys don't hustle, no matter what level they're at, they don't. And it's just because those guys are getting paid so much. I think that the focus is on them more. Rightfully so to an extent. The more money you make, honestly, the more effort you should put into it, I think. But that's not just a Soto thing. I think every player in baseball has no problem speed walking down the line sometimes when they know they're just into an out.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you get paid to play a game, right? So, you would hope that you would at least play the game and run, but kind of a lost art. So,
That it is. Um, so this lets you have anything else that you want to. Oh, you have a couple points on here about the Mets' upcoming schedule if you wanted to touch on that, but
yeah, we'll go over it really quick. So the Mets, if you're a Mets fan, you know that June is the month from hell for Mets fans. It's usually where they usually have a first place lead coming into June, and then they go 6-24. But they are playing a bunch of teams. They actually do have so they play the Rockies a couple times, which is nice. They play the White Sox right after this series, which is nice. But then you have 14 games against the Dodgers, Atlanta, and the Phillies. It's going to be a 4 game series away against the Dodgers, 3 games at home, 3 games away versus Atlanta, and then 3 games away versus the Phillies at Citizens Bank Park. So listen, this month is already like the death month for Mets. This is usually when seasons die and you pack it up and you look forward to the offseason. You hope that this is a new Mets team and a new Mets regime, and this is not going to happen. But they need to figure it out. They're going to have some tune up games, like I said, against the White Sox and the Rockies. And they should, I hope, go 6-1. That's the hope. They should do that because these 3 teams, you can say whatever you want about Atlanta's start to the season. Truist Park is the Mets graveyard. It's awful. I hate when the Mets go there because they lose. It doesn't matter how good the Braves are. The Mets go. It doesn't matter how good the Mets are. The Mets go to Truist Park and they lose. So they need to take care of business. If I would love it if they went to Dodger Stadium and they took 2 out of 4. Probably not going to happen. But this team needs to show a spine. This they have not afforded themselves the cushion to where if this is a nightmare road trip and a nightmare month, like this is a competitive division. Like it's not going to get any easier from here. So they need to what's going on with the offense, they need to figure it out. And again, we've touched on this all year long. The pitching will not hold up. Eventually, the bullpen's going to blow games. The starting pitching, you already saw it with Canning. No fault to Canning, by the way. He's going to have those starts, but Canning wasn't good on Friday. So the starting pitching and the relief will only take this team so far. So the offense needs to figure it out, needs to start attacking pitchers, getting them out of games, getting to the bullpen, and this team will be good. That's again, this is the backbone of this team is the offense. So it's on them to figure it out for the next month.
big offensive spot right now for the Mets that I'm paying attention to. But I can shift while you're watching. You can cut me off.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm gonna shift us over to the Phillies now, who are on the opposite end, sort of, of the Mets at the moment. Like we said, not that the Mets are playing terribly, but um, the Phillies have won 8 in a row and are now 3 games up on the Mets and 8 games up on the Braves in the NL East. Um, I am gonna start my thoughts before you start yours, and anybody listening says, I am fully aware that they have played in a row the three, arguably, you could substitute maybe the Pirates for somebody else, but really not the 3 worst teams in baseball, with the exception of maybe the White Sox. But all right, you could certainly 3 of the 4 worst teams in baseball, hands down. Well aware of that. So I'm caveating my praise by understanding that 3 of those teams are probably minor league baseball teams at best. Nevertheless, I have time and time again seen the Phillies play down to their competition, and lose a series or not even sweep, lose one game in those series that they should have won. So I was very happy to see uh, two straight sweeps against two bad teams when none of the games looked like they were going to get out of hand whatsoever. They were the Phillies had control of all of those games almost from the get-go. Um, that's my general praise for the Phillies. I do have things on things that I have problems with, though. First of all, Jose Alvarado getting suspended. When this happened, this was a week ago tomorrow, I think. Um, I was fully convinced that it was detrimental to the Philadelphia Phillies season as a result of how terrible the bullpen was before this happened and how terrible everybody in the bullpen was that was not named Jose Alvarado. Um, they have uh, calmed me down a little bit since the suspension. The bullpen has a 2.9 ERA, 15 strikeouts, and two walks in 15 and a third innings. Again, I know who they've been pitching to. I'm fully aware of that. But I watched the Phillies bullpen pitch terribly against bad teams earlier in the season when they played the Rockies too, and it did not go nearly as well. I have just so the background for the Alvarado suspension, that he suspended 80 games and the postseason for taking I forget the term, but it was some they found testosterone in his body. I forget the exact quote unquote type of testosterone, but Dombrowski said in the like pregame presser the day it happened, or the day that it was announced rather, um, that he was taking it for weight loss. I'm putting air quotes around that. Um, because I don't find that excusable for anybody. There's so there's so many resources and the teams have so many doctors and physicians and trainers, and I don't think MLB keeps it secret what substances get people suspended. So I don't find it excusable in any way for that to be the reason, even if giving him the benefit of the doubt that he genuinely was taking it as a weight loss medication. I don't know if I buy that anyway, but I'll play along. It's still not acceptable. But there's something interesting about this. I don't I don't know what to make of it. I just found it interesting. I was listening to another podcast that's called Phillies Therapy that one of the writers for The Athletic hosts. Um, Jose Alvarado tested negative about 3 weeks ago for this substance, following it up with two negative tests. Now, my theory is there that he got tested and immediately stopped taking whatever weight loss drug he was taking. But I'm not all that familiar with the suspension process, and you might be able to clarify it. I don't know how he was still able to pitch if he failed the test 3 weeks ago, and he did not appeal. He accepted the suspension. So I'm curious why there was a 2 week gap where he pitched multiple times.
Yeah. Sorry.
There you go. Soto's
He's out. Oh my God. All right, continue.
man, there goes my fantasy stats for the week. Gonsolin's on my team. Um, I don't know. Again, I don't know how the the suspension timeline and process is working. It doesn't make sense to me that Alvarado tested negative weeks before he actually was officially quote unquote suspended. And I don't know if that's common or that's happened before, but three tests and failing one of them still means that he had the substance in his body. But like I wonder, so if the timeline of it is interesting. You fail the first one and they still give you two more that you pass and then you're suspended. I'm not like calling foul on MLB here. He should be suspended. but I'm wondering why this just didn't happen when he failed it the first time.
So I can't speak to the process itself, because I couldn't look that up fast enough. What I can speak to is what he tested for. So he tested for what is called, hopefully I'm pronouncing this right, exogenous testosterone, which is a fancy way of saying testosterone that's not naturally produced. So to me, that sounds like HGH. Now I've tried to look for a brand name for weight loss drugs with testosterone, and I couldn't find it, um, which tells me that essentially you don't take a weight loss drug that has testosterone. You take testosterone and say it's for weight loss, um, which is really flimsy at best because it's not there to me. And unless I'm obviously not privy to exactly what he took, but it sounds to me like he just took testosterone and then said it was for weight loss. But regardless, like it's not that he didn't know it was banned. Because I'm not familiar with any type of testosterone that's not on the banned list for PEDs. So,
Nope.
why they took him so long? I would only my only assumption is that I don't know how long it takes for them to verify. I'm sure there is a rigorous testing process before they start handing out 80 game fines. Or 80 game suspensions. So my thought would just be that they had an inkling maybe when he failed it 3 weeks ago. But they just had to say, all right, well, let's keep running tests on this sample. Let's make sure that it wasn't a false positive or yada, yada, yada. So that's probably the best I could say to it. That seems the most reasonable to me. But um, I don't really see any plausible deniability, bias or not. I really did try looking for anything that would suggest that it just contained testosterone and he had no idea, but it really seems like he just straight up took it, and is now saying like, oh, it wasn't to get stronger, it was to lose weight, which I've already discussed with you is a stupid excuse anyway. When you're mid-season, you don't lose weight, because then you're losing velocity on your fastball and all that. So I don't know.
Yeah, even and like I said this, even if I play along, that's somehow how he was taking it. The amount of money that's put into the health and training of these players, if that's true and nobody knew that it was actually in there, then the entire training staff and doctors need to be fired because that's pathetic. So either way, that's terrible. I don't think that that's what happened. I have a hard time believing that multiple people with medical degrees did not know that. Um,
Yeah, I don't know if the team tests more regularly than MLB. That seems like a good practice. I'm sure the MLB PA would not probably be happy about that, but that
I mean,
seems like,
teams run physicals on players. They're
yeah,
so theoretically supposed to report like medications that they're taking and stuff like that. So so maybe he didn't report that. But if he did, and the team doctors weren't like, if you get tested, you will get suspended. They should lose their jobs too. I don't think that's what happened. I'm not making excuses. I think he was taking it and should be suspended. Just I don't know. Some weird things came out about that after it happened, that I just found slightly interesting. That same day, though, uh, something pretty cool happened for the Phillies. So I think Mick Abel was drafted in, I believe it was 2020. I think he was in the short year. That was one of the first major league drafts that I paid attention to ahead of time and like, you know, watched prospects and followed the Phillies guys. And Mick Abel was their number one overall pick. I believe it was 14, 15, or 16. I don't remember the exact number. He made his MLB debut last Sunday against the Pirates, pitching against Paul Skeens, which in of itself is pretty cool. That's a cool matchup for MLB to get to tout. Their young, bright, shining star pitcher against a guy who was at one point one of the better pitching prospects in the game. Um, that was a cool day, just as a baseball fan and a Phillies fan specifically. the cool day to finally see him get to pitch at all, and then watch him pitch incredibly well and tie a Philadelphia Phillies franchise record for strikeouts in your in major league debut. He threw 6 innings, 9 strikeouts with a WHIP of .8. Again, Pirates are not good. I'm well aware of that. Um, but I find I'm glad that it was against the Pirates. First of all, because I think that's a good way to get him his first steps in baseball. And I think that was done on purpose a little bit. But also, there are guys who can hit. O'Neal Cruz has been having a good year for the most part this year. Brian Reynolds has not been having a great year, but he's annually a pretty good player. Um, Joey Bart, I forget if he played that game, is a solid catcher. So I'm not saying the Pirates are a great team, but there are capable major league hitters in the lineup that um, he threw some pretty disgusting pitches too. It was pretty cool to watch. He immediately went back down to the minors, which was the plan ahead of time, which I'm disappointed about. But he came up to make a spot start after Nola got hurt. Um, I I I think it was super funny. So we found out about this. I think it was a day or two after you and I recorded our last episode, in which we spent the better part of 10 minutes talking about Mick Abel being traded for somebody. And he comes up and has a good just a good debut for anybody, has a good debut and a good start for any pitcher in Major League Baseball, veteran or rookie or not. That you would take that start from anybody in baseball. And so that was pretty cool and just a very, you know, very weird coincidence that we chatted about him and he came up. And I don't think that was on anybody's radar. He's been having a really good year at AAA, but last year and the year before were terrible, as we talked about um, the last episode. So it was definitely a surprise for him to come up. I think anybody who would bet on sports would bet that Andrew Painter would be coming up first, just because they wanted to give Abel a full good year at AAA, and then maybe have him come out um, later in the season or out of spring training. Um, I thought that was the polar opposite news days for the Phillies. Um, so the day started terribly. You texted me the news in the morning actually, because I have almost no social media, so I have no way of finding this out unless I go looking for information. Um, so it did taint the day a little bit. But overall, this was a pretty cool day for the Phillies. And I don't know, I doubt you like watched the game, but you're a baseball guy, so I'm sure you saw highlights. So I'm curious what your thoughts are on Major League Baseball, Mick Abel.
Yeah, I mean, don't remember his exact. If remembering off the top of my head, he threw 6 shutout innings with either 8 or 9 Ks.
Yeah,
So that's a fantastic start for anybody. Obviously, shutout ball. The strikeout numbers were there, which I don't think anyone is too surprised to see. Like we've discussed, McCable has always had major league stuff. Um, Even the walks, I don't remember seeing an amount that indicated that he was struggling with control. So that again
he didn't
is
walk anybody.
didn't walk anybody. There you go. That's as good as it gets. So dominance by Mick Abel, and we can I could talk about this with Mick Abel and the Phillies in general because I know we've talked about that they have their competition has not been the best. I am the first person to tell you that good teams need to beat other good teams. But I will also be the first person to tell you that good teams need to beat bad teams. Good teams need to win games. I think that's a general observation that anybody could make. But the Mick Abel doing that to a major league team, his first start, obviously, anybody's first start in the big leagues there's so much more going on than just getting up there and pitching. You have to worry about getting your family to the game. You have to sit in the clubhouse for the first time and look at your uniform and say, "This is what I've been working for my entire life." The jitters are crazy, and no matter what anyone will tell you, major league debut is always going to feel different, and it's always going to be difficult to get through that at all. So the fact that he was able to do that and pitch as well as he did, it could the quality of the team is not it's only a little bit relevant. you can only take positives from that. And the Phillies in general, again, they didn't play great teams. None of those teams are going to be in the playoffs probably, but those are games you have to win. Like the Mets last year played the Marlins a shit ton of times, and the Marlins I think played like 500 ball against them, and it was infuriating because if you think about, and clearly every one of those games mattered because it came down to the final day of the season. If you just take care of business against the Marlins, then guess what? The Mets are at 95 wins and they're in the playoffs, no problem. So every game, there all wins count the exact same in the standings, and you want to beat up the good teams now. So if you have struggles against bad teams later in the season, then at least you have that cushion to help support yourself with. So overall, there's nothing to sniff at on an 8 game winning streak. Phillies are playing good baseball right now, and they're deservedly having the best record in the major leagues. So again, it's still May. It's still early. No one's. I wasn't gonna declare the Mets winners of the NL East in after they swept the Phillies, and I know you're not ready to declare them NL East champions now. So there's a lot of baseball left to be played. But it's really encouraging to see from a Phillies perspective to see them kind of clicking on all cylinders after a not a sluggish start to the season, but definitely not as ideal as you would expect to see from that group.
Hmm. And I this is my third or fourth time saying it that they did not play good teams. The argument that argument it's not not moot at all, but that argument's validity has lessened now since everybody plays everybody. So obviously the stretch of having these three teams in a row is fantastic, but every team is going to play everybody now. So it is not that the Phillies have a decided schedule advantage because they're playing weaker AL teams this year. Every team is going to play everybody. The Mets are going to play the Rockies 6 or 7 times. They're going to play the Athletics 3 times, 3 or 4 times. Um, play the Pirates 6 or 7 times too. So the opportunities are there for every team to win those games. I think the Phillies have just been incredibly lucky to have what will be 10 straight games against teams that will almost certainly finish um, with under 80 wins in the Pirates case, and maybe under under 60 or 70 for the other two. Um, I don't. Uh, just overall, like a couple small thoughts. Overall, the offense has obviously looked better. Again, bad pitching. Harper's picked it up over the last 10 days to 2 weeks, which has been great. He's still not hitting for as much power as he typically does, with only one home run in the last week, I think two in the last 10 days. So still not great. Um, Aaron Nola, though, is injured for the first time. And I put on our pre-show notes 6 years. I think it's actually 7. I don't think he's been injured since 2018, um, which is just a terrible way for a ridiculous streak to end. Um, I don't really think he was actually all that much injured, because he's been pitching terribly this year, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 starts. So I think this was just as much a Philly saying you're done for 2 weeks because you're not pitching well, as he had a minor ankle inflammation issue. Um, so just that's a thing that happened. I don't really kind of view it as good or bad for the Phillies because Abel was able to come up and take a start, and Walker's been fine this year. So it's not as if it's a Matt. Walker's actually pitched better than Nola this year. So the Phillies currently have somewhat upgraded the rotation at the moment. Um, so that's just a thing that happened for the Phillies. I don't really kind of view it as a long-term problem unless Nola's ankle injury is actually true and will keep him out for um, more than a month. But I don't think that it will. Um, I don't have any more thoughts on the Phillies. I doubt you do, as a non-daily Phillies watcher.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Harper says he got the buzz. It seems to be what turned it around for him. He's obviously hitting the ball a lot more. Um, so he's doing well. He was always going to regress back to the mean. He's, you know, one of the best hitters of this generation. So never too much concern with a guy like that. Nola being injured, haven't obviously I've seen him in the division for a long time. Um, it's a testament to his durability that this is the first time he's been injured in 6 years. I remember when he was a free agent, I wanted the Mets to sign him because that durability is useful. It's incredibly valuable, as you're seeing, especially for like the Dodgers, because they have like 10 pitchers that are hurt right now.
Hmm.
So
And cross baseball too. Like we're having the same problem again. Pitchers are getting
yeah,
hurt again.
yeah, pitchers get hurt more every passing year. The amount of pitching injuries goes up, velocity goes up, and pitching injuries go up, and they're 100% correlated. Ask any doctor. That's beside the point.
Hmm.
That's a whole other episode we could talk about. Um, but
If
yeah,
we if we if we
overall,
have a if we have a dead week, we could do something like that.
yeah. But Philly's been playing good baseball, like I said. The offense is doing much better. The certain guys in the offense are doing much better, like Harper. And if you're going to get injured, it might as well be in the rotation because the Phillies have plenty of backup. They're the envy in the league in terms of pitching depth, so they'll be okay. And I would do the same thing if if I had a ace pitcher that was going through a rough patch, I'd oh no, your abdominal pain. Guess you have to go on the IL. Like
Yeah,
it's yeah. Even though
sometimes guys just need that.
Billy Upper got like blackballed from baseball for it, even though everyone does it, but that's whatever.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that was stupid. I will never defend the Mets. Every team in baseball does that. So that was a little weird. I am very excited for the Phillies Mets series in June. All three of those games are on national TV. So
Oh,
that
are
should be a
they?
good that'll be a good weekend. Yeah, they got the Sunday night game and I think Saturday's on Fox and I think Friday's Apple TV. So they got the trio,
Yeah.
which I
I'm
don't
going to the
like.
Friday one. I
You
hate
going?
this Mets Dodgers series is not one of them is on SNY and it's so annoying. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be going to the Friday night one. I might be going to a second one. But Friday night that's gonna be with um like 6 or 7 Phillies fans that I grew up with. So that's gonna be great. One of them is gonna be wearing a Mets jersey because the Mets swept the
I lost the
Phillies
bet. I
and they
lost the
lost a
bet.
bet. Yep. So that's I'm not going to be alone. But that's going to be exciting. Yeah, it's going to be a great series, especially because that's going
I
to be the first time in the bank since the NLDS. I'm sure there's going to be no love lost there. So,
Nope, not at all. I will be around for that weekend. If so, if you're looking for somebody to go, I might be convinced to spend some money to go to the Sunday night game.
all right, I'll let you
Um,
know. Yeah.
all right, okay, all right. So we'll shift now to some MLB roundup and various news topics, whatever lingo we want to use. I think so. I'm gonna start off with um, some not baseball news, uh, base baseball stories about Paul Skeens uh, and the not rumors, trade proposals, perhaps is a better word to phrase it. Um, from fans, I don't think there's any credible sources within the Pirates organization that are saying this is even a remote possibility. But you have to wonder, as a baseball fan, very clearly that the Pirates will not spend money and have very little to offer in terms of trading for guys at a deadline to make a push for even a wild card. Will they cash in on Paul Skeens right now before he inevitably gets hurt? Um, Ken Rosenthal wrote, and I think it was Ken Rosenthal wrote an article a few days ago, basically saying that's not going to happen. But it, of course, sparks the conversation, and everybody has their opinion on the matter. So I'll get your thoughts first. One, will they? Two, should they? And if they were going to, what kind of package is it going to take?
Yeah. So I could talk all day about this. This is fascinating to me. Um, will they? They will not. That would be a PR nightmare of all nightmares. This dude is not. He's pre-arb. He's going to be under team control for the rest of the decade. He's going to be a free agent, I believe, in the 2030 offseason. So, like, he's under control for at least like the next 5+ years, regardless of performance. Like even though he's going to get, I think, the accelerated service time thing because he's a stud since he came up. I so this, I found this actually. There's a million statistics you can do on Paul Skeens and his career and how great he is. But this was really cool. So his career ERA plus through the games that he's pitched. And for those of you who don't know what that is, that's essentially ERA, but it is adjusted for ballpark factor and era. So to compare guys like steroid era guys with dead ball era guys like Babe Ruth. So essentially that goes from 100 is league average, and then every number above that or below that is a percentage better or worse than league average. So Paul Skeen's career ERA plus is 202. Um, Now I would want you to guess where that would rank among pitchers all time.
I feel like because you're asking the question, it's first, but I have a hard time believing that it's first because of just the absolute quality of pitching in the history of baseball.
Yeah. So he is second.
Second.
I'm
All
but
right, I gotta guess who's first then. All right, hang on.
yes.
Okay.
And remember, this is all pitchers. So think about who would have the best ERA plus over the span of their entire career. So we're not talking about if you had a great prime and a shitty like rookie and end of career, you don't
hmm
count. So under that guys, any pitcher.
Uh, Greg Maddux has got to be my first guess.
Greg Maddux. He is not. I actually don't. He might have had some bad years.
He
Um,
did, he did, but
yeah.
all right,
Um,
so no then. All right, Nolan Ryan.
Nolan Ryan, I believe, is also not. Yeah, Nolan Ryan. Wait, no, that's Gary Nolan. Nolan Ryan stinks his ERA plus. He's like in the 300s. Um, I'll give you
Give me the era
I'll,
at least. Give me the era
the
of
era.
baseball.
This is
Yes.
21st century. This is
Wow. Okay.
late 90s, early 2000s.
Um. Oh. Crap. Is it somebody on the Braves?
It is not. Maybe I should specify. When I think of him through because of a specific team won a lot during the very late 1990s and the very early 2000s. They won a ton of times. You're gonna kick yourself when you figure out who it is. Remember, any pitcher.
Mariano Rivera.
Yeah, Mariano Rivera and his is 205.
So
So
really, like they're one inning being different for Mariano Rivera probably changes that
but think about how
because of how
crazy
close.
that is. Like obviously this is not a exact comparison, but
hmm
if you were to judge off these statistics alone, what Mariano Rivera came in and did for one inning, and he's the best pitcher in baseball ever to do that for one inning. Paul Skeens does every inning for multiple innings, every start. Like that's
For every 5 days.
yeah, and this is kind of not super relevant, but some of the other names you would know. Jacob DeGrom is fourth, Clayton Kershaw is fifth, Pedro Martinez is sixth. So and the guys in second and third are uh, Bill Foster and Bullet Rogan, who I've never heard of.
Oh,
But
Bullet. Yeah.
yeah, Bullet, that's my favorite pitcher. But point is, Paul Skeens. That's a lot. That's a lot of time and work to say that Paul Skeens is a generational pitcher. Um, so to trade him away when he is not even sniffed his prime is would be it would go down in history as one of the craziest, most ridiculous trades ever. Now, should they? I am going to stick with the boring answer and say no. And it's pretty. I mean, I don't know about obvious, but I don't understand how you trade any pitcher like that. Obviously, you should extend him, but the Pirates aren't going to do that because they're cheap. But Paul Skeens, you are never going. The Pirates specifically will probably never have a pitcher as good as Paul Skeens for the rest of our lives. Like that is a complete possibility that Paul Skeens is the best pitcher to ever put on a Pirates uniform ever. So there is no prospect equivalent. And I love prospects. I am a great. I've researched them for fun because I'm a nerd. I love prospects. There is no prospect package on the planet that, even if they all pan out, will get you a Paul Skeens equivalent. And we can go into what that might look like. The most obvious one, or the one that I've seen the most, is the Red Sox, because they have Roman Anthony, who's the number one prospect. Christian Campbell was the number four prospect. He's up now, kind of going through a slump, but still a very good long term outlook. And Marcelo Mayer, who actually got called up this morning. So those are three top 10 prospects, position players. And I think that's what you're looking at. You need a surefire star, which I think Roman Anthony looks like he will be. And that's you need the Juan Soto package that the Nationals got was James Wood, C.J. Abrams, Mackenzie Gore, Harlan Susana, Robert Hassell. Like those are five guys that are going to be very either superstars or very good major league contributors. And I think that package should exceed that. That's how
Yeah.
that's how much you need to. If the Mets somehow were given a shot and said, "What we will give you, Paul Skeens, what like if you give us XYZ." If it's, I don't care who, as long as it's not on the major league roster, I'll take the entire Syracuse Mets and ship them to Pittsburgh. I don't care. Like the this guy is so good, and again, and you mentioned this before, he's gonna get injured. Like there is a very high likelihood that this guy gets injured. Um, it doesn't matter to me. You cannot bank on that when it hasn't happened yet, even though it might happen and it's very likely to happen. At the end of you're playing the if game, just like you're playing the
Sure.
if game as if these prospects might not pan out. You see it a million times. Again, the Mike Piazza trade was referenced a little bit ago. I saw it on social media, and I can't tell you one guy that got traded from Mike Piazza when he got traded from, I think it was the Marlins to the Mets. Couldn't tell you. And for every story like that, there's a Javi Baez, Pete Crow Armstrong story, which I'm not going to delve into that. But again, like you're going to lose those trades sometimes, sure. But as of right now, I can't see any team trading away a pitcher that's that young, that good, and under that much control. Like they would be incredibly stupid. Like the I don't even I could go on and on. He's gonna be he's not only on a Hall of Fame track, like if he keeps this up, like he will probably be like the Clayton Kershaw of this of this
Of
era
the
of baseball.
2020s.
Of the 2020s. Yeah. Like he's that good and it's
Uh,
insane. So
Okay, so hypothetical, put yourself in the shoes of a Pittsburgh Pirates fan. Because I think, first of all, I'll play bad cop. I think they should trade him this trade deadline, if not this offseason. But if you were a Pirates fan, and hang on, I'll backtrack for a second. He will command a major league player package. There will be guys who are currently playing baseball when he inevitably gets traded one day that will need to be in that deal. There is no way, no how that deal is exclusively prospects. I don't like. I think so. Like I know that teams have gotten away from dealing major league for major league guys. There's just no way that doesn't happen. He's that good. So hypothetically, if you were a Pirates fan and could trade Paul Skeens this trade deadline and get a bunch of a couple prospects and some really good major league talent back that would get you to the postseason this offseason or this season, but there's no guarantee after that. Do you trade him?
wait, you're saying if I'm a Pirates fan and the Pirates could get to the postseason this season?
Yes, with like that because I'm assuming slash pretending that he would command such an insane haul of guys who are playing Major League Baseball right now that if the Pirates could swing a trade they would bring in, two or three like all-star caliber Major League Baseball players, and they need more than that to get to the postseason. But somehow say that they do. You as a Pirates fan who have not seen a playoff baseball game in 12 years, do you trade Paul Skeens for that guarantee for this season, not knowing what Paul Skeens is going to be after this season? and not knowing if how your team's going to be after the season. Do you make that deal or not?
If the playoffs is guaranteed, then you have
Yes.
to. If you have to, because right now the Pirates with Paul Skeens aren't a playoff team. So
Hmm.
the Pirates haven't been to the playoffs in God knows how long. And they have guys coming up. Like Bubba Chandler is the number 2 prospect in baseball. He's not Paul Skeens. He's going to be damn good. And they have Thomas Harrington. He's another like they have plenty of pitching depth coming up, and they have guys Termar Johnson. They have prospects in that system. So if I knew, and I don't think it would happen. They might get major league talent. I don't think they're going to get multiple All Stars as much as I would love to. If I was Ben Cherington, call up the Diamondbacks and say, "Hey, give me Corbin Carroll." Um, like I think if in that specific hypothetical, absolutely. Because again, you never know. You're presenting me with a certainty that we're going to make the playoffs, and everything else is uncertain. So I have to do that. Um,
I would too.
yeah, I it's gonna be fast. If they ever did trade him, that would be we would have hours of podcast material because that
Hmm.
would be insane. But yeah,
I picture in this hypothetical, I picture a trade partner like, and this is a bit of a stretch, but this is what I've conjured up to address the Pirates' needs. The Cardinals, because Helsley goes back in that deal because the Pirates have no bullpen. You get a you get a perennial all-star closer in that deal. Arenado goes back, who is not the Nolan Arenado that he once was. He is miles better than Brian Hayes. And um oh, and Newbar and somebody else. I don't think that gets them there. I know enough baseball to know that that gets them there. Those are three really good Major League Baseball players. So I am posing a hypothetical, something like that, where they address multiple spots on their team that are terrible and bring them not just from terrible to not so bad or good to very good. That's the deal. That is the deal I had in my head. Not gonna happen. Just
I think the Pirates. I'm gonna be so. I think the Pirates would need so much more.
I think they would need more too. Those are their major league guys. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah,
St. Louis is sending prospects their way too.
yeah. I feel like I would want like, and not to say like Newt Bar and Helsley aren't good. They are. I would feel like I would want Mason Wynn. I would want
I
Brendan
was thinking,
Donovan.
I was thinking of Wayne, but I just like I know Cruz goes back and forth still sometimes, and there's another guy that plays shortstop. I don't think he's that good.
Yeah,
Um,
Jared Triolo. He could go back to he can go to the Cardinals.
he could, yeah, you could send him back. There you go. Send
um,
him and Skeens.
yeah, there. I mean, we're obviously just completely talking hypotheticals, but you would like. I don't think you would probably ever see a bigger haul than that until you saw the batter version of Paul Skeens, um, which I don't like that to me that feels like 21-year-old Bryce Harper. Like that probably is the only person. Even I guess you could say like 21-year-old Juan Soto, but to me, I feel like the with the how it matches up with um draft pedigree, how quickly they rose to the minors, like the
Where they are in
expectation.
the career right now.
Yeah. Like to me that feels like what would it that feels equivalent to what would it take for the Nationals to trade away a 21-year-old Bryce Harper after he just like won rookie of the year and all that stuff. But
Hmm.
it's definitely interesting food for thought.
Yes. Um, so moving on. The next the top I put this topic on our roundtable. This isn't specific news to this week, but Aaron Judge has obviously been on one of the best tears in perhaps baseball history this season. He's been absolutely insane. So I was talking to a couple of my Yankee friends, Chris, one of them who was on the show a couple weeks ago. They they are of the they are of the mindset, and they are certain of this, that when Aaron Judge retires, he's going to retire as the best right-handed hitter in baseball history. I am 100% not in agreement with that. And that is me doing my best job trying to hold back my anti-Yankee bias. And what I'm curious where you stand on that. Keeping in mind the some of like not obviously some of the best hitters are right-handed hitters because you either bat right or left. Hank Aaron was a right-handed hitter. Uh, I think Ted Williams was too. Like there's the laundry list of guys who are in the Hall of Fame, and any team in baseball right now would sell the farm, pay a fortune to have that player on their team right now. I don't buy it. And as somebody who has not Juan Soto, geez, Aaron Judge on his fantasy team, but also hates the Yankees. So being as unbiased as possible, what do you think?
So, I know we mentioned when we were talking about how good Paul Skeens was, we mentioned ERA plus. So I had the thought to look up OPS plus, which is exactly what it sounds like for OPS. So, this exercise will be pretty short. But where do you think Aaron Judge ranks on that for right-handed hitters? For right-handed hitters,
All time right now?
all time right now, OPS plus career.
See, we actually looked at this before. I forget his like I remember generally where his number was, but I don't know. I honestly have no idea where that would rank in
Yeah,
terms of like baseball history. I think he was around 150,
one
155.
177.
Okay, all right. Uh, just crazy ballpark off the top of my head. I'm gonna say like 20. And that's with no prior knowledge of this whatsoever.
So, including all hitters, right and left and switch, Aaron Judge is sixth. For right-handed hitters, Aaron Judge is number one. So, to give you an idea with who he's competing against, or I guess the next best guys that you would know, um, Mickey Mantle, I think, is the number one name that stands out to me. Mike Trout, Hank Aaron's a little further down. But again, I think what you have to remember is that this is this tends to reward people that either have had consistently great careers or consistently long great careers or short insane
Torrid
careers.
stretches.
Yeah, as long as they were good for every year they played, they're going to be high up here. So number one's Babe Ruth. I think that makes sense considering the era that he played in. Ted Williams is second. He's a left-handed hitter, which is why
Left-handed hitter. Okay.
yeah. And then Barry Bonds, Lou Gehrig. These are all pretty familiar names. Now taking away the stats and just what I think. Again, I think there is a myriad of ways you can define greatest hitter in baseball. Um, I tend to view greatness as peak performance for a relatively extended period of time.
Yeah, me
So,
too.
so it's tough to quantify, but I would say like if you came up at 23 and your ages 27 to 35 were otherworldly and you played 2 years and you were dog shit and you retired, that is what I would say. And if those peak years were the greatest years ever, then I would say you have a case. So that kind of fits Aaron Judge. The problem, I guess, is durability. Obviously, he hasn't been healthy for a lot of seasons, but I mean, he came up and hit 52 home runs. So like as long as he's been healthy for the entirety of his career, he has been the best hitter in baseball. Pure hitter. I mean, you could argue Otani with steals and yada yada yada. I would say for my money that when Aaron Judge came up in 2017, when he's been healthy, he's been the best hitter in baseball overall. Right-handed all time, I have a hard time putting him over Mickey Mantle. Um, but it's not crazy. And it's so tough to evaluate a player that's still playing.
Hmm.
Um, because if his career ended like today, I think you put him up there with eh, not Roger Maris, but I think he's another Mike Trout where
Yeah.
he's one of the greatest, but he's not the greatest, and he could have been the greatest, but he's not. He's 33, so it's not like his prime years And granted, his skills kind of lend themselves to age. It's not like he's going to stop hitting home runs when he's 35. Like that'll still be there. But he would have to maintain this ridiculous pace for probably
At least the rest of his contract, because if he plays out his contract, which is
that's
up
like
in
five
what?
years. It's like 5 years.
So he would have then played for 12 years, 12 or 13 years.
Uh, he would have played for 15.
15. I think he came up in 17, right? So, oh, five
Well,
years. Okay, we're 2025.
yeah, like I mean, he came up in 24. Okay, it's basically 14 years if you
Okay,
because he had a
14.
cameo. Yeah,
Mickey Mantle and Hank Aaron both played for over 20.
yeah. I'm longevity is definitely a factor. Um, so I agree. I mean, he was old when he came up for a prospect. He was
He
24.
was. Yeah.
Um, But yeah, I would say I think if he were to maintain this pace or relatively so, I don't think he needs to hit 50 home runs when he's 38. But if he can maintain an MVP candidate floor um for that majority, and it's possible, like David Ortiz, I think was 41 and he was a DH by then, but still batted like 300 with 40 home runs. So it's not impossible. I think that at that point, you'll have had, again, like you said, 14, 15 years of being unquestionably one of the best hitters in baseball. And then with 10 years of being unquestionably the best hitter in baseball, I think it's worth a debate. It's definitely, it'll be interesting to see just how many records and how long he can keep up this pace because his peak, I can tell you right now, for a batter and his peak, it's Bonds. It's Bonds worthy. And Bonds has some I would still give the edge to roided up Barry Bonds because if you go look at his I never saw him during his prime, but if you look at his baseball reference number, it's absurd what he
Hitting
did.
like 70 home runs.
Yeah, like I could stare at his Savant or I could stare at his baseball reference page all day because it's ridiculous what this guy did um on the baseball field, even roids or not, like ridiculous. But the fact that Aaron Judge is even comparable to that says so much.
Hmm.
So I could definitely see him retiring. There's a pathway to him retiring as the best right-handed pitcher or right-handed hitter ever.
Interesting. Okay. Well, we'll revisit this in 6 years when we're still doing the show after he retires. Um, my last thing I have, and this is a little bit because I just watched them. The Rockies have just finished up the worst 50 game start to a season in the modern era of Major League Baseball, having won just 8 games. Um, they're really bad. They're really bad. I don't have
I
anything
was
else to say other than they're really bad.
I was surprised that they even were worse than the White Sox last year. I not that I
Mhm.
remember what their start was, but that's I mean, and I feel like I know some people on the Rockies at least. Like,
They
um,
signed Chris Bryant.
yeah, I mean,
Chris Bryant plays on the Rockies.
yeah, like they have like Hunter Goodman's actually like a good baseball player. Um,
Jordan Beck too. He's playing
Yeah,
well this year.
Jordan Beck's not been bad. Brenton Doyle's not having a great season, but he's a young, talented player. It's just like it's crazy how every year there's always a worse team, and
Yeah,
there's no light at the end of the tunnel. Like I hate to be that guy, but
yeah. They don't
like
have. They don't got guys coming up.
yeah, their guys have already came up. Like Chase Dolender, I'm not shutting. He's going to be fine. I think he'll be as good of a pitcher as you can be at Coors Field. But Ezekiel Tovar, he's one of their top prospects. He's been up for a couple years, kind of stalling out. Adael Amador, I think, just came up, or yeah, he should be up for a little bit. Haven't heard anything about him. They drafted Charlie Condon. I'm actually so curious. I'm gonna go look up right now how he's doing because he had a horrific start to his minor league career, and they passed up on a lot of people to pick him, namely Jack Caglianon, who's gonna be quite the baseball player. Let's see. Okay, so he's he's only played 12 games, but he's doing better, which is hopeful because that at least one person they drafted might have some good potential for that team
Will command a good
because
prospect package when he comes
yeah,
up in a few
when
years.
what when he's in his second year of service time, they can trade him for some more prospects. Yeah.
Right.
But
It's just and it's it's very frustrating for the game of baseball that happens. It's the distribution of talent is just getting thinner and thinner every year. And I think unless the Cubs extend him, which I don't think they will, I think Kyle Tucker is going to be a good example of that this offseason. Off the bat, before, regardless of where anybody finishes, if guys get hurt, whatever, there are a maximum of 10 teams that will even have the capabilities to sign Kyle Tucker to the contract that he's going to get. Off the
yeah,
bat, there's going to be teams that don't have a spot for him. There's going to be teams that don't have already paid a ton of money to other guys. There's multiple teams that have payrolls over $250 million already. There's going to be places that he doesn't want to go. So one of the a generational hitter, another generational hitter is going to be down to three, maybe four teams. Just the and that's a broader conversation than the Rockies, but it's just a shame that that is not exclusively a Rockies problem. That they're just out of it from the get-go, and they're so bad that we're talking about the worst starts in the history of baseball.
yeah. So this is interesting. I actually want to go on a tangent about parity in baseball in general, and this is not an advocate. This is not an ad. I'm not advocating for a salary cap. I don't believe in that. Obviously, my owner is the richest owner in baseball. I'm not believing in that. But regardless of that, I don't think the lack of parity in baseball is it's relatively related to the disparity in wealth. But I think baseball is unique in that organizational competency is so paramount to a team's success, more so than any other sport. And I think that the reason that is because prospect development and player development, there's so much more to do at a professional level than a collegiate level. So for
No other sport's so dependent on guys in high school.
yeah, like the NFL, for instance. You know, the NFL, you can't f that up. Like obviously, like teams mess up draft picks, but when you draft the guy in college, granted he's gonna learn a couple of things. He's gonna largely be the same player that he
Hmm.
is in the National Football League than he was at Alabama or whatever. When you draft a high school pitcher like Mick Abel is going to reinvent himself, or if he doesn't reinvent himself, he will be a drastically different pitcher when he gets to Citizens Bank Park than when he was in Jesuit High School or wherever he was.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
no, and Oregon.
yeah, like he's gonna go through. He went through. I don't know how long it was minors. Probably like 5 years. I'm guessing
Yeah,
five
4 or 5
years.
years.
Yeah, 5 years of that's 5 calendar years of different coaches, different analytics guys, different ballparks saying this is how we think you should change your mechanics, develop this pitch, get a new pitch. Like there's so much that goes, and regardless if you're a high school pitcher or if you're an SEC batter who's going to be ready in a year or two, regardless, there's so much you learn and develop and figure out at a professional level that you don't see in any other sport because like it's basically you have nicer facilities in professional sports, you have nicer facilities and you have better coaches, but
Hmm.
in baseball you have that for multiple years, and that results in you see this all the time with the Dodgers never pick high in the draft. I don't think they've picked high in the draft in 15 years. I can't think of the last time they took a guy in the top 10. The Dodgers every year have incredible scouting and their player development is top notch. They always find some 17-year-old out of Cuba or Dominican Republic that 5 years later or 4 years later is a top 50 prospect, and they go trade him for a superstar, or they keep him and he ends up being Gavin Lux was that's a bad example because he's not as good now, but like Gavin Lux when he came up was like one of the best young second basemen in baseball, and they traded him away too. Or the pitching, oh my god, the amount of white pitchers the Dodgers have that I've never heard of that are studs. I don't know. You probably haven't watched him. I had him for a little bit on fantasy team. Ben Kasparius, their middle reliever. If you watch him pitch against, if you saw him pitch against the Mets yesterday, oh my, he I don't know what they're gonna do with him. He's like some random farmhand they have in their AAA pitcher in their AAA staff. That dude's nasty. His pitches. I looked at his pitching grades. He throws like four above average pitches, and he's just gonna be like their long reliever. Like it's crazy to me how a team can have so many injuries and so much go wrong, and they're fine because just
And they have like the
organize.
third best record in baseball.
Yeah, because their organization is just so well built and so well structured. So it doesn't
Mhm.
matter. They could trade Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts next year, and they still would probably make the playoffs because that's what the Dodgers do. And that's the difference between baseball and other sports is that even if you gave the Rockies $200 million, they're gonna go spend it on Chris Bryant, and Chris Bryant's gonna play bad. So like it's not that these teams will have their chances every now and then. I don't think the Pirates are gonna sign anybody, but like the Rockies, the Nationals have their moments. Like these small market teams, plus you, do have chances to go get those players. The difference between them and the Dodgers and the teams that are perennial contenders is that those teams are smart with their money. So it's sad. It's sad that really they're until they accidentally strike gold and hire a brilliant POBO or GM, like they're gonna be stuck in purgatory forever. So
Very, very, very good tangent. Um, well, maybe All-Star break, or again, if there's a lull of stuff, um, we could do an episode on grievances we have with Major League Baseball as a whole, and the 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 perennial teams that win 70 games could be a part of that because I have plenty of complaints as well. I don't have anything else for this episode. We've talked for quite a while, so
yeah, I feel like the last couple episodes we have so much to talk about, so it feels like we go on for over an hour. Why is Edwin Diaz in the game at the? Oh wait, that's the eighth
yeah,
inning. Okay.
once we get on a better schedule, we'll cap them. Hopefully, 40, 45 minutes or so. But if you don't have anything else, Andrew, I will sign us off for this episode of Chin Music. Thanks everybody for listening. We hope to be back mid to late next week with another episode. Thanks.